Hi everyone, welcome to our Facebook discussion of our latest 12 on 12 about sharks. I'm meteorologist TJ Del Santo.
And I'm digital reporter Adriana Roses Rivera. We wanted to give you some stories, talk a little bit about the background of this piece and what went into shooting it. It was quite the story for us. Folks think about Cape Cod, great white sharks, Jaws comes to mind, right? But in Rhode Island, the situation's a little bit different. And the main piece of the story, we tagged along with the Atlantic Shark Institute to find out what it's like to go shark fishing and tagging.
Temperature in the morning, that was in the 50s. So
yep, I was wearing my jacket like a windbreaker, right?
It was chilly that morning, and I remember going out on the water and there was a little touch of fog right over. I had to grab video of it. And then, of course, our next stop was out in the open Atlantic. We had to go to a acoustic beacon, right?
Yep, and the acoustic receivers off of Galilee and Scarborough, that's how these researchers are tracking if sharks are in the area. So tagged sharks are logged by those receivers. So we grabbed some data from there, really felt like we were doing a science experiment, hauling the buoys up on the side of the boat and then downloading that data.
You asked about what was surprising. That was surprising how easily they were able to get the data out. They just hooked up a laptop. It came
Bluetooth,
from Bluetooth right from the buoy into the computer, and right away, within moments, we could see how many different fish had come by.
So certainly a lot of marine life in the area, but the real question is, are there sharks or not that are being pinged? And I think the researchers, that's what the use of this data is for. You're seeing it over time, how many pings and how many of those are shark pings.
Yeah, those acoustic buoys, it's a collaboration between the Atlantic Shark Institute, which is based here in Rhode Island, and the Rhode Island DEM. There's 30 of them all around Rhode Island?
30 of them, first deployed since 2019, right? And in Cape Cod, they had similar things beforehand. So in Rhode Island, fairly new technology. And I think, all the researchers kind of agree it was sort of a black hole in Rhode Island waters because there weren't these acoustic receivers that would log sharks.
So from the buoys, we set out on our shark adventure. There I am trying to reel in a shark.
I think that's what people are really curious about. How did two reporters manage to get on a shark fishing trip and how did it go? The two of us tried to reel sharks in. I would say that my forearms burned for several days after. That thing was strong.
They can battle. What's interesting, and we didn't put it in the piece. We got a bite, and my first time I started reeling it in, and the shark, I guess, went away. But John Dodd of the Atlantic Shark Institute said that the way that shark was fighting, it was probably a Mako Shark. So our next adventure was the what we call Shark Protocol, and they're using drones here in Rhode Island to look for sharks, and that's down at Charlestown's Blue Shutters Beach.
Which TJ, our Skydrone 12 pilot, thoroughly enjoyed flying his drone over the Charlestown Beach drone. What was that like? Because it
was hard, actually, because
it was kind of like drone inception, right?
Yeah, and you don't see that in the piece because you can't really see it. I didn't want to crash into the Charlestown drone, so I was pretty separated.
That would not go over well with the town, right?
Yeah, because they just got these the first year that they're using them, and it's great technology. They send them out, they see something in the water, drone goes out, inspects it, and they actually found some seals earlier in the year. Really cool technology, and we also learn about what lifeguards do when they spot a suspected fin. There's actually a protocol that they use there in Charlestown, and there's actually a state protocol, which is really interesting.
And every scientist that we spoke to, the lifeguards, everybody reiterated nobody should be afraid of going in the water in Rhode Island. There is marine life, and that's what all these protocols are there for, just in case there is a shark sighting. So I think it's important for people to know that. Don't be afraid to go to the beach this summer, right? So then after that, we visited a shark lab in Narragansett, a NOAA lab. I didn't even know that existed in Rhode Island. They do all sorts of things. They do stomach content analyses. So they'll, open up a shark's stomach and see what's inside. And it lets them know which species are interacting, right? If a shark is eating a bluefish, now we know bluefish are important for sharks and fisheries management of sharks.
I thought that was really interesting. You think about stomach contents, you see maybe it's a little, if you have a queasy stomach,
Maybe don't watch this one.
Maybe don't watch this part online. What was interesting, though, is I wasn't expecting to see pretty much whole bluefish in the belly of the sharks. I think they dissected, what, a Mako shark's belly?
Yep, we saw a Mako shark's stomach contents, and Michelle Passerati, one of the fish biologists in the Apex Predators program at NOAA, tells us that the way a Mako shark feeds, it's sort of a grab and swallow kind of predator. So that's why you see the whole bluefish.
All right, and one of our other stories is on the Mako shark. We talked about it a little bit, and there's a new ban in place on Mako sharks. You can catch them, but you cannot take them.
And the reason is because these Mako sharks, their population has reached pretty dangerous levels. So researchers and international agencies have sort of partnered to put this ban in place and try to see if they can rectify the situation. You spoke to URI Professor Brad Weatherby.
And a couple of his grad students as well.
What'd they tell you about the species?
They said it's a pretty mean fish, that's for sure. Those teeth are just so gnarly.
Looks straight out of a movie.
Oh, it looks like something out of a horror movie. Maybe the Mako is actually the cousin to the great whites, and they look pretty ferocious. I'm sure they're pretty ferocious in the ocean.
You also went to Shark Camp, right? Tell us about that.
That was a fun one. I went with Brad Weatherby, who had just mentioned. He organized a shark camp for kids that might not normally be able to get out onto the bay or on a boat and explore marine life. They had the opportunity to do that. They held sharks. They're little tiny sharks called dogfish that are quite often commonly found in Rhode Island. And those dogfish sharks, they're kind of cute, actually.
So nothing like this, right?
Nothing like that. No great whites on board with the high schoolers there. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that piece. And the way it was edited was a lot of fun as well. What was, going back to catching the sharks, what was the most challenging thing for you?
Well, I think in the main piece with the Atlantic Shark Institute, shooting it was a challenge. We were on a 28-foot boat. It was TJ and I and John Dodd and Paul Clappin, both of the Atlantic Shark Institute. And we had tiny cameras, so it kind of made us a little bit more nimble.
Yes.
But you still don't want to drop that camera in the water.
No, they're expensive,
right?
cameras. And I think you see me a couple of times like leaning overboard, with the camera. That was the most challenging part. Don't drop the camera in the Atlantic Ocean.
All right, well, that does it for us. Again, watch our 12 on 12 digital original Sharks on WPRI.com. I'm Adriana Rosas Rivera.
And I'm meteorologist TJ Del Santo.